Welcome everyone to Lunchtime Politics after a little break. Well, President Muhammadu Buhari is promising to run an all-inclusive government which will be open to everyone. The president made the promise after he and the vice president, Professor Ayade, received their certificate of return from the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Well, our correspondent Gloria Muzuke has the report.
Amidst loud cheers and jubilation, President Muhammadu Buhari arrives the International Conference Center, Abuja, alongside Vice President-elect Professor Yemi Osinbajo, to receive the certificate of return after he was declared winner of the 2019 presidential elections by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC.
Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission.
Governors, members of cabinet, and the National Assembly, as well as national leaders of the party, are among several here to witness.
Professor Yemi Osinbajo, please step forward to collect his certificate.
Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, issues the certificate, upon which the Vice President appends his signature.
May I now invite the President-elect, Muhammadu Buhari.
And then it's the turn of the President-elect, Muhammadu Buhari, who is accompanied by his wife, Mrs. Aisha Buhari. Upon receipt, the President and his vice displayed a certificate of return to all.
Utmost respect. I will invite the President-elect to make...
The President promises an all-inclusive government devoid of impunity.
I wish Mr. Chairman to congratulate all the presidential candidates and their teams on a hard-fought campaign. We may have had different views during the campaign, but the one thing most of us have in common is love of our country and our desire to improve conditions for Nigerians.
He also pledges that the hard work continues, and he thanks millions of Nigerians for another opportunity.
We must all see it as a victory for Nigeria, our dear country. All Nigerians going forward must stand in brotherhood for a bright and fulfilling future. I therefore want to assure that we will continue to engage all parties that have the best interests of Nigerians at heart. Our government will remain inclusive and our doors will remain open.
The President reiterates his promise to secure the nation.
I can assure you that you will see a country moving to the next level. Let me pay tribute here to those who lost their lives either through accidents or mindless violence during the course of these elections. My heart and thoughts are with the families of the victims. May God comfort and give them the fortitude to bear the loss.
This statutory function performed by the electoral body is carried out within 7 days of declaration, according to the requirements of the law. Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Muhammadu Buhari's main challenger at the polls, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, is not pleased with the results of the presidential election announced by INEC. Well, the PDP flag bearer is alleging that Saturday's election was characterized by irregularities that cannot be swept under the carpet. He was speaking when he addressed the World Press Conference in Abuja and says he would reveal his next line of action in the coming days. Our correspondent, Kayla Megwa, reports.
It is a solemn atmosphere at the Ayade Center in Abuja as PDP stalwarts gather to hear from the party's presidential candidate. As he mounts the podium, he starts by describing what a true democratic process entails.
Democracy is a government of the people. and by the people only when the people's choice prevails. That did not happen on Saturday, February 23, 2019.
Citing irregularities which he said bedeviled the electoral process, he goes on to reject the results of the election as released by INEC and speaks on the way forward.
In Akwa Ibom, for instance, the results showed a statistical impossibility of a 62% drop in voter numbers from the 2015 elections, even where voter registration and PVC collection rates were much higher than in 2015. This pattern was repeated in strongholds of the People's Democratic Party, including in states like Delta, Rivers, Abia, and Benue states. As this was occurring, we saw another statistical impossibility, wherein voter turnout and numbers increased astronomically in Borno State by an almost miraculous 82% in the midst of insecurity. My dear Nigerians, it is for this reason that I, Atiku Abubakar, reject the results declared by the Independent National Electoral Commission. I am conferring with not just my party, but also with the Nigerian people on next steps, which will be revealed to the public shortly.
The presidential candidate of the PDP had a word for his supporters and foreign investors.
All hope is not lost. Stay strong. Stay strong. By the grace of God, we shall triumph. And to the international investors and friends of Nigeria now pulling out of our country, can you imagine only yesterday by that May announcement, the stock market lost 85 billion? I urge you to be patient and keep faith with the Nigerian people. Your quarrel is not with the Nigerian people. Your quarrel is with those who stole their mandate.
What's the next step for the PDP? Will litigation get the party the victory it desires? Can the People's Democratic Party survive another 4 years as the main opposition? What is certain for now is the presidential candidate of the PDP promises not to give up without a fight. Kayla Magwa, Channels Television News.
Well, elsewhere, the Cross River State Governor, Professor Ben Ayade, has called on the Inspector General of Police as well as the Director General of the State Security Service to clamp down on those involved in the videos you can see showing thumbprinting of ballot papers during last Saturday's election at the northern part of Cross River State. Now, Governor Ayade maintains that the intention of the perpetrators was not only criminal, but designed to paint a bad image as well as reduce the credibility of elections in the state. He was speaking shortly after the State Security Council meeting in Calabar, the state capital.
Obviously, it's a stage-managed video because you can see that the man who is supposed to be recording from a vintage position, secretly capturing people who are committing a crime, had the privilege of even zooming to a point of picking a date on a paper. And the person arranges those ballot papers and thumbprint and carrying a discussion with a deliberate plan to record and to be heard. So you can see any discernible person will know that that is a cooked-up video designed to embarrass the state. Good news is that the security report have penciled down, based on voice recognition and forensic examination of that video, we have narrowed down and we have now prime suspects who indeed have identified the house where that had happened, and I'm sure that the security agencies are currently working on that, and Nigeria will soon hear the news of those who perpetrated that crime.
Well, let's find out the next line of action for the presidential candidate of the YPP, that's the Young Progressives Party, Mr. Kingsley Moghalu, as the national chairman of the party. Bishop Amakri joins us via the telephone. Many thanks for joining us on the program. What is your point of view with regards to the elections that just held? Can you confirm that your party is rejecting the results? Mr. Macri,
are you talking to me?
Yes. Is your party rejecting the results of the presidential polls?
Of course.
Mr. Macri, go ahead. We can hear you. All right, it appears we've lost him on this issue. Hopefully, we will try to get a hold of him. But then in their statement, the National Publicity Secretary, Comrade Igboala, said the decision to reject the results of the election was reached after a careful assessment of available facts as well as proper consultations with the stakeholders. Well, we'll try and talk more and get more information on that statement. But in the studio with us is a legal practitioner, and he joins us, Mr. Monday Obani. A pleasure to have you on the program.
Yeah, thank you, Minister.
So loads of issues spilling out of this, and they say this is, the lawyers are moving into a money-making era in terms of the election tribunals. But first, what do you make of the elections generally?
Well, I want to appreciate Nigerians who have actually renewed the visa of the president to be in Aso Rock. For you to be in that particular place, you have to have your visa renewed, so they have given him extra 4 years. And so the issue of peace and stability of the country is critical, and I'm very happy that even the opposition are trying to enjoin their supporters to be peaceful while they pursue legitimate means of redress, which is very important. Because the investors will not come into your country if you create some unnecessary crisis. The FDIs, we need it so much now because of the economic situation. So we don't need any upheaval in the system. So for me, I want to congratulate the president. I also enjoin those who have any grievance concerning the electoral process to pursue it legitimately using the instruments of law rather than physical combat. That's my advice.